The weight of the Barrett 50 caliber rifle felt impossible in Anna Hansen's trembling hands as Navy SEAL Commander Jake Morrison placed his most prized possession into her grip. Around them, the entire Colorado Precision Shooting Academy had fallen silent, with 200 of America's elite marksmen watching in disbelief as the soft-spoken 22-year-old from Denmark prepared to take a shot that seasoned snipers had been attempting all week. "Show them what practice really means," Morrison whispered, his voice carrying the weight of a bet that could end both their reputations. Before we continue, tell us where you're tuning in from. If this story resonates with you, make sure to subscribe as I've got something extra special saved for tomorrow. Nobody knew that months earlier, Anna had been banned from 3 shooting ranges for being too inexperienced and a liability. They were about to find out why that assessment was dead wrong. The Colorado Precision Shooting Academy buzzed with its usual morning energy as Anna Hansen walked through the front gates, her worn canvas bag slung over her shoulder and a thermos of coffee warming her hands against the crisp mountain air. The facility stretched across 50 acres of pristine valley floor, its multiple ranges designed to challenge the world's most skilled marksmen. American military personnel, competitive shooters, and law enforcement officers came here to hone skills that could mean the difference between life and death. At first glance, Anna looked like she had taken a wrong turn on her way to a hiking trail. Standing barely 5 feet 4 inches with shoulder-length blonde hair and gentle blue eyes, she moved through the testosterone-heavy environment like a whisper in a thunderstorm. Her clothing was practical but unremarkable. Worn jeans, hiking boots, and a simple navy jacket that had seen better days. Nothing about her appearance suggested she belonged among the tactical gear and military bearing that dominated the academy. The registration desk was staffed by Tom Bradley, a former Marine whose skeptical expression had become legendary among newcomers. He looked up from his paperwork as Oliver approached, his eyes immediately cataloging everything that seemed wrong with this picture. Young, foreign accent, no visible equipment beyond a basic rifle case, definitely no military bearing. "Help you, miss?" Tom asked, his tone professional, but carrying an undertone that suggested she might be lost. "I'm here for the open practice sessions," Anna replied, her English accented with Danish inflections that made her sound even younger than her 22 years. "I called yesterday about range availability." Tom consulted his logbook, finding her name among the day's reservations. Anna Hansen, no organizational affiliation listed, no competitive ranking, no instructor recommendation. Just someone who had paid the daily fee and requested access to the basic rifle ranges. "First time at our facility?" Tom inquired, pulling out a clipboard thick with safety waivers and facility rules. "Yes, but I've been shooting for several years back home," Anna said, accepting the paperwork. "I'm studying abroad and wanted to continue practicing while I'm here." Tom nodded with the patient expression of someone who had heard similar claims hundreds of times. International students often arrived with inflated confidence in their abilities, usually learned on hunting rifles or basic sport shooting setups. They rarely lasted more than a few sessions before realizing the academy's standards were far beyond their preparation. The morning briefing area was filled with the academy's regular attendees, a mix of active military personnel on training rotations, law enforcement officers maintaining certifications, and serious competitive shooters preparing for national-level competitions. Anna found a seat in the back row, pulling out a simple notebook and pen, while others around her displayed sophisticated range-finding equipment, ballistic calculators, and custom gear that cost more than most people's cars. Sergeant Mike Reynolds, the Academy's chief instructor, began the daily safety briefing with military precision. He outlined range rules, weather conditions, and target protocols. While Anna took careful notes, around her, experienced shooters half listened to familiar information, their attention focused on equipment checks and range assignments. "New faces today," Reynolds announced, his eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on Anna. "Remember, this isn't a beginner facility. We expect professional standards from everyone, regardless of background. If you're not prepared for that level of commitment, the basic shooting club in town might be more appropriate." The comment drew knowing chuckles from the regulars, who recognized it as Reynolds' standard warning to newcomers who might be in over their heads. Anna simply nodded and continued taking notes, seemingly unaffected by the indirect challenge. As the briefing concluded and shooters began moving toward their assigned ranges, Anna gathered her simple equipment and headed toward Range 3, designated for basic rifle practice. She had requested the most elementary setup available, a decision that further reinforced everyone's assumption about her skill level. What nobody at the Colorado Precision Shooting Academy knew was that Anna Hansen had been preparing for this moment far longer and more intensively than anyone could imagine. Back in her small apartment near the University of Colorado, her modest living space told a different story than her unassuming public persona suggested. Her desk was covered with ballistics charts, wind calculation tables, and meticulously detailed shooting logs that stretched back 4 years. She had been studying American shooting techniques through online forums, military manuals, and video analysis with the dedication of a doctoral candidate. Every evening after her university classes, Anna spent hours analyzing shooting data, memorizing ballistic coefficients, and studying the subtle art of precision marksmanship. The truth was that Anna hadn't simply been shooting for several years back in Denmark. She had been obsessed with it. Her father, Eric Hansen, was a former Danish military sniper who had served in Afghanistan alongside American forces. When Anna was 18, a casual introduction to target shooting had revealed an almost supernatural natural ability that stunned everyone who witnessed it. Eric had been skeptical at first. His daughter was studying international relations, spoke 3 languages fluently, and seemed destined for diplomatic work. She showed no interest in military culture and had never expressed fascination with weapons. But when she consistently outshot experienced marksmen at the local shooting club, Eric realized she possessed something genuinely rare. Under her father's careful guidance, Anna had spent the last 4 years developing skills that went far beyond casual practice. She learned to read wind patterns, calculate ballistic drops, and maintain focus under pressure. More importantly, she learned to do it all quietly, without the aggressive competitive atmosphere that dominated most shooting sports. Eric had taught her that true marksmanship wasn't about proving superiority over others, but about achieving a perfect harmony between mind, body, and equipment. Anna approached shooting like meditation, finding a zen-like state where external distractions disappeared and only the target existed. This philosophy made her incredibly accurate, but also virtually invisible in competitive environments, where ego and showmanship typically ruled. During her exchange year in Colorado, Anna had researched every shooting facility within a 2-hour drive. The Precision Shooting Academy was legendary among serious marksmen, known for its challenging courses and elite clientele. She had been planning to test herself there for months, carefully timing her visit for a period when she could commit to regular practice without academic distractions. Her equipment, while appearing basic, was actually carefully selected and precisely calibrated. The rifle case contained a custom-built Remington 700 that her father had helped her configure specifically for long-range precision work. Every component had been chosen for accuracy rather than appearance, resulting in a weapon that looked unremarkable, but performed at levels that would surprise most observers. Anna had also spent considerable time studying the Academy's layout through satellite imagery and promotional materials. She knew which ranges would be most suitable for different types of practice, understood the facility's protocols, and had even researched the backgrounds of key instructors. Her preparation was thorough but invisible, exactly as Eric had taught her. Most importantly, Anna had learned to manage expectations. She understood that her age, gender, and foreign background would lead to immediate assumptions about her capabilities. Rather than fighting those perceptions, she decided to use them as camouflage, allowing others to underestimate her while she quietly demonstrated what real preparation could accomplish. As she set up her equipment on Range 3, Anna felt the familiar calm that always preceded her best shooting sessions. Around her, more experienced-looking shooters were setting up elaborate gear and discussing complex ballistic calculations with the confidence of seasoned professionals. Anna simply unpacked her rifle, checked her equipment with practiced efficiency, and began the mental preparation routine that had become second nature. She wasn't here to prove anything to anyone else. She was here to continue the journey her father had started, to push her skills to new levels, and to honor the discipline that had shaped both their lives. If others noticed her abilities, that would be secondary to her primary goal of constant improvement. The morning sun climbed higher over the Colorado mountains as Anna completed her setup and prepared for her first shots. She had no idea that within hours, her quiet practice session would attract attention from the most elite marksman in America, or that her careful preparation was about to be tested in ways she had never imagined. Anna's first morning at the academy attracted exactly the kind of attention she had hoped to avoid. As she methodically adjusted her rifle scope at range of 3, conversations from nearby shooting positions drifted over with the subtle cruelty that often accompanies casual dismissal. "Check out the tourists at range 3, muttered Staff Sergeant David Chen to his shooting partner, loud enough for Anna to overhear. "Probably thinks this is like those carnival games back home." Chen was a Marine Corps instructor who had been using the academy for advanced training courses, and his opinion carried weight among the regular attendees. His partner, Detective Ray Morrison from Denver SWAT, chuckled while assembling his precision rifle. "Give her credit for trying. Most people are intimidated enough by this place to stay away. She'll probably fire a few rounds, realize she's in over her head, and find somewhere more suited to her experience level." Anna kept her expression neutral while internally cataloging the assumptions they were making. Tourist, inexperienced, someone who would quickly realize her mistake and leave. She had heard variations of these comments at every shooting facility she had ever visited, though the American version seemed particularly confident in its dismissal. Range Officer Phil Hutchinson approached Anna's position with the patient but slightly condescending manner of someone who had seen hundreds of overconfident newcomers. A former Army Ranger with 23 years of service, Hutchinson had developed a sixth sense for identifying shooters who were about to waste everyone's time. "First time at a precision facility?" he asked, noting Anna's basic equipment set up with practiced assessment. "First time at this facility," Anna replied carefully, "but I have some experience with long-range shooting." Hutchinson nodded with the expression of someone who had heard similar claims countless times. Experience could mean anything from hunting deer with a basic rifle to actual precision work. Given Anna's age and background, he assumed the former. "Just want to make sure you understand our standards here," Hutchinson continued. "We're not set up for basic marksmanship training. Our targets start at 300 yards, and most of our regulars are working on shots that would be considered advanced at other facilities." "I understand," Anna said, checking her rifle's bolt action with smooth efficiency. "I'd like to start at 300 yards if that's acceptable." Hutchinson's eyebrows raised slightly. Most newcomers requested closer targets, working their way up to longer distances as their confidence grew. Anna's immediate request for 300 yards suggested either unusual confidence or dangerous overestimation of her abilities. "Your call," he said, walking toward the target controls. "Fair warning, though, our 300-yard course uses precision targets. You'll need to maintain groupings under 2 inches to continue using the advanced ranges." From the neighboring shooting positions, Anna could hear the subtle shift in conversation as word spread about the new shooter's ambitious target selection. Experienced marksmen began paying closer attention, some out of genuine curiosity, others anticipating the entertainment value of watching overconfidence meet reality. Captain Lisa Torres, an Air Force combat veteran who ran advanced marksmanship courses, positioned herself where she could observe Anna's technique. Torres had seen her share of talented young shooters, but she had also developed a protective instinct about maintaining the Academy's reputation for excellence. 2 inches at 300 yards, Torres commented to the shooter beside her. "See, that's entry-level precision work. If she can't maintain that standard, Hutchinson will bump her down to the basic ranges where she belongs." The academic nature of the conversation irritated Anna more than outright hostility would have. These people weren't being deliberately cruel. They simply couldn't conceive of someone with her appearance and background possessing advanced shooting skills. Their dismissal was so automatic it felt like natural law rather than prejudice. Anna completed her rifle preparation and moved into shooting position. Around her, the Academy's morning rhythm continued, with experienced marksmen discussing ballistics, wind conditions, and equipment modifications. She was included in none of these conversations, treated as an observer rather than a participant in the serious work of precision shooting. Range Officer Hutchinson's voice crackled through the intercom system. "Range 3, your 300-yard targets are active. You have 20 rounds to establish your grouping. Academy policy requires consistent precision to maintain advanced range access." Anna chambered her first round and settled into the shooting position that had become as natural as breathing. Through her scope, the target seemed impossibly small and distant, exactly the kind of challenge that had attracted her to precision shooting in the first place. Around her, conversations continued with the assumption that this challenge would quickly expose her limitations and send her to more appropriate training venues. She took a slow breath, found her natural point of aim, and prepared to show the Colorado Precision Shooting Academy what 4 years of disciplined preparation could accomplish. Anna's first shot broke the morning silence with a sharp crack that echoed across the valley. Through the spotting scope at the range control station, Phil Hutchinson watched the bullet impact and blinked twice, certain he had misread the target. The shot had struck dead center, creating a perfect hole in the bullseye that would have impressed him coming from any of the Academy's veteran marksmen. "Beginner's luck," muttered Staff Sergeant Chen, though his tone carried less certainty than his words suggested. Anna worked her bolt action smoothly, chambered her second round, and fired again. Another perfect center hit, this one so close to the first that it enlarged the existing hole rather than creating a new one. By her fifth shot, even the most skeptical observers had stopped pretending this was coincidence. Detective Morrison lowered his binoculars and exchanged glances with Chen. "That's not luck. That's technique." Anna continued shooting with mechanical precision, each shot finding the center of the target with consistency that defied explanation. Her breathing was controlled, her position stable, and her trigger control so smooth it seemed effortless. More importantly, she showed none of the nervous energy that typically accompanied exceptional shooting by newcomers. She wasn't excited by her accuracy, she was simply executing skills she had clearly mastered long ago. Range Officer Hutchinson found himself making excuses to linger near Range 3, ostensibly checking equipment, but actually observing Anna's technique. Her fundamentals were flawless. Proper cheek weld, consistent sight picture, natural respiratory pause timing. These weren't skills that could be faked or stumbled upon accidentally. They represented hundreds of hours of disciplined practice. After 15 rounds, Anna's target showed a single ragged hole barely larger than a dime. At 300 yards, this represented shooting that most competitive marksmen would consider excellent on their best days. For someone who had walked in off the street with basic equipment and no academy credentials, it was approaching the impossible. Captain Torres approached Anna's shooting position during a pause between shot strings. "Excuse me, miss," she said. "I'm Captain Torres, one of the instructors here. I was wondering if you might tell me about your shooting background." Anna looked up from her rifle, her expression pleasant but guarded. "I learned from my father back in Denmark. He was military, taught me the basics when I was younger." "The basics," Torres repeated, glancing at the perforated target that told a very different story. "What branch of service was your father in?" "Danish Army," Anna replied, offering no additional details. She had learned from experience that mentioning her father's sniper background often led to assumptions that she was trading on his reputation rather than demonstrating her own skills. Torres nodded thoughtfully. Danish military training was highly regarded among NATO forces, but that still didn't explain the level of precision she was witnessing. "Have you done much competitive shooting? Your techniques suggest considerable experience." "Some local competitions," Anna said, which was technically true while completely understating her consistent dominance of Danish precision shooting events. "I mainly shoot for personal satisfaction rather than competition." This response frustrated Torres in ways she couldn't quite articulate. Anna's shooting was clearly at a level that demanded recognition, yet she seemed completely uninterested in claiming a credit for her obvious skills. Most shooters at her level would be eager to discuss their achievements, compare techniques, or demonstrate advanced capabilities. By her 20th shot, Anna had created what appeared to be a single enlarged bullet hole in the center of her target. The grouping measured just over 1 inch, well within the Academy's standards for advanced range access, but achieved with an ease that suggested she was operating well below her maximum capability. Range Officer Hutchinson's voice came through the intercom. "Range 3, excellent shooting. You've qualified for advanced range access. Would you like to move to longer distances?" Anna considered the offer while cleaning her rifle. Moving to longer ranges would attract more attention, potentially leading to conversations and scrutiny she preferred to avoid. On the other hand, 300 yards wasn't really challenging enough to constitute meaningful practice. "Could I try the 500-yard range?" she asked. The request surprised Hutchinson, who had expected her to gradually work up to longer distances over multiple visits. 500 yards was serious precision work, the domain of advanced marksmen who had spent years developing their skills. At 500 yards, he replied, curiosity now completely overcoming his initial skepticism. As Anna packed her equipment to move ranges, she became aware of the subtle attention her shooting had generated. Conversations at nearby positions had shifted to include speculation about her background and training. Several instructors had found reasons to observe her shooting, and a small group of advanced students had begun watching her technique between their own shot strings. The attention made Anna uncomfortable, not because she doubted her abilities, but because she preferred the anonymity that allowed her to focus purely on the technical aspects of shooting. Back in Denmark, her reputation had eventually led to unwanted pressure and expectations that interfered with the meditative quality she found in precision work. At range 7, designated for 500-yard precision shooting, Anna set up her equipment with the same methodical care she had shown at the shorter distance. The target appeared impossibly small through her scope, requiring adjustments for bullet drop and wind drift that separated advanced marksmen from casual shooters. Around her, the Academy's most serious practitioners continued their own training, though several had positioned themselves to observe her performance at this more challenging distance. Anna understood that her 300-yard shooting had been impressive enough to generate curiosity, but 500 yards would provide a more definitive test of her actual capabilities. She chambered her first round, settled into position, and prepared to demonstrate that her earlier performance hadn't been the extent of her abilities. Anna's performance at 500 yards created the kind of problem that institutions like the Colorado Precision Shooting Academy weren't equipped to handle. Her first 10 shots produced a grouping that measured exactly 1.2 inches, a level of precision that even the Academy's instructors achieved only on exceptional days. By the end of her first session at the advanced range, word had spread throughout the facility about the unassuming Danish woman who was quietly out shooting veteran marksmen. The reaction wasn't celebration, it was suspicion. Master Sergeant Williams, the Academy's senior instructor, and a man whose authority was rarely questioned, arrived at range 7 during Anna's second day of practice. He observed her shooting through high-powered spotting scopes, took detailed notes on her technique, and engaged her in increasingly probing conversations about her background. "Miss Hansen," Williams said during a break between shot strings, "I've been reviewing your registration information. You listed recreational shooting as your primary experience. That seems modest given what we're observing." Anna continued cleaning her rifle while responding. "I prefer to let my shooting speak for itself rather than making claims about my abilities." "The thing is," Williams continued, his tone carrying subtle pressure, "we have liability concerns when shooters significantly exceed their stated experience levels. It suggests either misrepresentation on the application or skills acquired through channels we should probably know about." The implication was clear. Anna's abilities didn't match her paperwork, and that discrepancy was being treated as a potential problem rather than a pleasant surprise. Williams' questions became increasingly specific, focusing on her training history, her father's military service, and the exact nature of her shooting experience in Denmark. Other instructors began finding reasons to interrupt Anna's practice sessions. Captain Torres arrived with routine safety inspections that seemed targeted specifically at Anna's equipment and technique. Range Officer Hutchinson implemented enhanced supervision protocols that required Anna to explain her shot placement and technique decisions after each string of fire. The scrutiny extended beyond official oversight. Anna noticed that her target selections were being questioned more frequently, her equipment was being examined more thoroughly, and her shooting position was being observed more closely than other shooters at similar skill levels. What should have been recognition of exceptional ability was being treated as a potential security concern. The situation escalated when Colonel Harrison, the Academy's commanding officer, requested a private meeting with Anna in his office. Harrison was a career military officer whose reputation for maintaining institutional standards was absolute. His office walls were covered with commendations from various special operations units, and his desk displayed photos with some of the most elite marksmen in American military history. "Miss Hansen," Harrison began, his tone professionally courteous but unmistakably authoritative, Your shooting has been quite impressive. However, we've had some concerns raised about the level of skill you're demonstrating relative to your stated background. Anna sat quietly, recognizing the formal tone that often preceded institutional pushback against anything that didn't fit established categories. Our instructors reported that your technique suggests training well beyond recreational shooting, Harrison continued. Given your foreign citizenship and the level of precision you're achieving, we need to better understand the source of your capabilities. The questions that followed were invasive and accusatory. Had she received military training? Was she affiliated with any foreign intelligence services? Had she misrepresented her background to gain access to American shooting facilities? Each question carried the implication that her skills were somehow suspect rather than admirable. Anna answered honestly, but found her responses being analyzed for inconsistencies or hidden meanings. Her father's military service was scrutinized as potential evidence of covert training. Her student visa status was questioned as possibly providing cover for other activities. Her preference for practicing alone was interpreted as secretive behavior rather than personal choice. The most frustrating aspect was that her shooting ability, which should have been viewed as an asset, was being treated as evidence of deception. Harrison's questions suggested that he couldn't conceive of someone developing elite-level skills through dedication and proper training alone. There had to be some institutional explanation, some formal program, or official backing that justified her capabilities. Miss Hanson, Harrison concluded, we're going to need you to limit your practice to basic ranges until we can verify your background more thoroughly. The advanced ranges are reserved for shooters with documented training credentials. Anna felt something cold settle in her stomach. She was being punished for excellence, excluded from opportunities because her abilities exceeded what others believed possible for someone with her background. The Academy's response to her skills wasn't celebration or curiosity about how she achieved them. It was institutional fear of anything that didn't fit their predetermined categories. Sir, Anna said quietly, I've never misrepresented myself or my background. I've answered every question honestly. My shooting speaks for itself. That's exactly the problem, and Harrison replied. Your shooting raises questions that your background doesn't answer. Until we can resolve those questions, I need you to stay within appropriate parameters. Anna left the meeting feeling like she had been convicted of a crime she didn't understand. Her dedication to developing exceptional skills was being treated as evidence of deception. Her quiet competence was being interpreted as suspicious secrecy. The very abilities that should have earned her respect and opportunities were instead being used to justify her exclusion from the advanced training she had come to the academy to pursue. That evening, Anna sat in her apartment staring at her practice logs and equipment manuals. For the first time since arriving in Colorado, she wondered if pursuing her shooting passion in America had been a mistake. The academy represented the pinnacle of precision shooting training, but if excellence was treated as a threat rather than an achievement, perhaps there was no place for someone like her in their rigid institutional structure. She thought about her father's advice. True marksmanship isn't about impressing others. It's about perfect execution when it matters most. Maybe it was time to stop trying to prove herself and start looking for opportunities where her skills would be valued rather than feared. Weeks after Anna's restriction to basic ranges, the Colorado Precision Shooting Academy received an unusual request that would test every assumption they had made about capability, preparation, and who deserved access to elite training opportunities. The call came directly to Colonel Harrison's office from Admiral Patricia Chun, commander of Naval Special Warfare Group 2. Her message was brief and urgent. Navy SEAL Team Delta required immediate access to a precision shooting facility for evaluation of new long-range engagement protocols. They needed a venue with targets extending to 1,200 yards and expert civilian instructors who could provide an unbiased assessment of their techniques. We've heard exceptional things about your academy, Admiral Chun explained during the secure phone call. Our team is developing new counter-sniper protocols for urban environments, and we need civilian expertise to validate our approaches. This isn't about training our people, it's about testing methodologies that could save lives in active combat zones. Harrison felt both pride and pressure as he confirmed the Academy's capability to support such a high-level evaluation. Naval Special Warfare units rarely sought civilian validation of their techniques, But when they did, it represented an enormous opportunity for institutional recognition and future contracts. The SEAL team would arrive soon, led by Commander Jake Morrison, a legendary sniper whose reputation extended throughout the special operations community. Morrison's background included multiple combat deployments, several precision shooting records, and the development of advanced training protocols that were now standard throughout naval special warfare. Harrison immediately began coordinating the Academy's response. He assigned his best instructors to support roles, cleared the advanced ranges for exclusive SEAL use, and prepared evaluation materials that would demonstrate the Academy's capabilities to the most elite shooters in the American military. The one problem was the test itself. Morrison's team needed to validate their techniques against an unknown variable, a shooter whose abilities they couldn't predict or prepare for. They required someone skilled enough to challenge their protocols but not affiliated with military training systems that might bias the evaluation. We need a precision shooter who can provide genuine challenge without prior knowledge of our methods, Morrison explained during his pre-arrival briefing call. Someone skilled enough to expose weaknesses in our approach but not trained in military counter-sniper doctrine. Harrison reviewed his options with growing concern. The Academy's instructors were all former military, making them poor choices for unbiased evaluation. The advanced students were either active law enforcement or competitive shooters whose techniques might be too familiar to the SEALs. He needed someone with elite-level precision skills, but a completely independent background. Master Sergeant Williams suggested inviting top competitive shooters from other facilities, but Morrison rejected that approach. Competition shooters are trained for known distances and controlled conditions. We need someone who can adapt to unknown variables and maintain precision under unexpected circumstances. Harrison found himself facing an impossible requirement: identify a civilian shooter skilled enough to challenge Navy SEALs but unfamiliar enough with military doctrine to provide valid testing parameters. Such individuals simply didn't exist within the Academy's normal networks. That's when Captain Torres made a suggestion that changed everything. "Sir," she said during a staff meeting, "what about the Danish woman we've been monitoring, Anna Hansen? Her shooting is easily at the level you're describing, and she has zero exposure to American military protocols." The suggestion created an uncomfortable silence in the room. Anna had been restricted to basic ranges precisely because her abilities exceeded her documented background. Now they were considering her for an assignment that their most advanced instructors might struggle with. "She's been flagged as a security concern," Williams objected. "We don't even know how she developed those skills." "But that's exactly what makes her perfect for this evaluation," Torres pressed. "Her techniques are completely independent of American training doctrine. She could provide exactly the kind of unknown variable Morrison needs." Harrison found himself caught between institutional caution and operational necessity. Anna's restricted status reflected concerns about her background, but those same concerns might make her ideal for an evaluation requiring independence from American military training systems. The irony wasn't lost on him. The same abilities that had made Anna seem threatening as a student might make her invaluable as an evaluator. Her skills, which had been treated as suspicious when she sought training opportunities, could now serve a critical national security function. "What's her current status?" Harrison asked. "Still restricted to basic ranges," Williams replied. "She's been coming in regularly, but we've limited her to 300-yard targets in standard precision exercises." Harrison made a decision that would prove the Academy had been fundamentally wrong about Anna Hansen from the very beginning. "Bring her in for a capabilities assessment," he ordered. "If she can perform at the level Morrison needs, we'll authorize her participation in the evaluation, but I want complete documentation of her abilities before we make any commitments." As the staff meeting dispersed, Harrison realized he was about to discover whether Anna's mysterious skills were the security threat they had assumed or the strategic asset they desperately needed. Soon, Navy SEAL Team Delta would arrive, expecting to test their protocols against an unknown challenger. The capabilities assessment took place on a gray morning under conditions that Colonel Harrison hoped would provide definitive answers about Anna Hansen's abilities. He had assembled the Academy's most experienced evaluators and designed a test that would push even elite marksmen to their limits. If Anna was going to participate in the Navy SEAL evaluation, Harrison needed absolute confidence in her skills. Range 12 stretched to 1,000 yards across terrain that included elevation changes, wind patterns, and target configurations designed to challenge the most advanced precision shooters. Harrison had personally selected the test parameters, 10 shots at each of 4 distances, with scoring based on both accuracy and consistency under time pressure. Anna arrived at the designated time, carrying her familiar rifle case and wearing the same practical clothing that had marked her as an outsider during her first visit. She showed no signs of nervousness, despite knowing that her performance would determine whether she remained relegated to basic ranges or gained access to opportunities she had been denied for weeks. Master Sergeant Williams conducted the briefing with professional thoroughness, explaining target configurations, timing requirements, and evaluation criteria. Anna listened carefully, taking minimal notes and asking only technical questions about wind conditions and target specifications. The test begins at 600 yards, Williams explained. You'll have 90 seconds per shot string, with targets that require sub-MOA accuracy to achieve passing scores. Most competitive shooters require multiple attempts to meet these standards. Anna nodded and began setting up her equipment with the methodical precision that had become her trademark. Around the observation area, academy instructors and advanced students gathered to witness an evaluation that had generated considerable speculation throughout the facility. Captain Torres positioned herself at the spotting scope station, responsible for documenting shot placement and measuring group sizes. She had been advocating for Anna's inclusion in the SEAL evaluation, but she also understood that substandard performance would vindicate those who viewed Anna as an overrated security risk. The first shot string at 600 yards established immediate credibility. Anna's 10 shots produced a group measuring 0.7 inches, well within the sub-MOA requirement, and achieved with steady consistency that impressed even skeptical observers. Her shooting position was textbook perfect, her timing consistent, and her focus absolute. At 700 yards, wind conditions became a significant factor, requiring constant adjustment for drift patterns that changed between shots. Anna adapted seamlessly, reading wind indicators and making corrections that resulted in another sub-MOA group. Her shooting demonstrated not just accuracy, but the ability to process environmental variables in real time. At the 800-yard test, she pushed into territory where only the most skilled marksmen maintained consistent precision. Anna's group opened slightly to 0.9 inches, still well within evaluation standards, but requiring every bit of her technical knowledge and 4 years of disciplined practice. At 900 yards, the evaluation entered elite territory. Most competitive shooters struggled to maintain precision at this distance, and even experienced military marksmen often required multiple attempts to achieve consistent accuracy. The targets appeared impossibly small through the spotting scopes, and environmental factors magnified every technical imperfection. Anna's first shot struck dead center, drawing murmurs of appreciation from the observing instructors. Her second shot opened the group by half an inch, still exceptional, but showing the first signs that she was approaching the limits of her equipment and conditions. By the 10th shot, her group measured 1.1 inches, technically exceeding MOA standards, but representing shooting that would challenge most professionals. Colonel Harrison studied the results with growing amazement. Anna had not only met every evaluation standard, but had done so with consistency that suggested she was operating well within her capabilities. More importantly, she demonstrated adaptability and composure under the kind of pressure that separated genuine marksmen from recreational shooters. However, Harrison's satisfaction was tempered by a disturbing realization. If Anna could perform at this level, why was the Academy struggling to identify other civilian shooters capable of challenging Navy SEALs? The evaluation had revealed that their most advanced students and experienced instructors might not be able to match Anna's performance under similar conditions. Master Sergeant Williams privately admitted to Harrison that Anna's shooting exceeded his own capabilities at longer distances. Captain Torres acknowledged that Anna's consistency surpassed most competitive shooters she had observed. Even the Academy's guest instructors, including former military snipers with combat experience, expressed respect for technique that clearly represented years of serious development. The uncomfortable truth was becoming clear. The Academy had been treating its most skilled practitioner as a security threat while struggling to identify anyone else capable of providing the challenge that Navy SEALs required. Anna's abilities weren't suspicious. They were simply better than anyone wanted to acknowledge. "Sir," Captain Torres said during the post-evaluation briefing, "I recommend immediate authorization for Miss Hansen's participation in the SEAL evaluation. Her skills clearly meet mission requirements, and her background provides exactly the independence Morrison requested." Harrison nodded, though he was already calculating the institutional embarrassment of admitting they had been wrong about Anna's capabilities and value to the Academy. The irony was perfect. The woman they had been excluding for exceptional abilities was now their best option for supporting one of the most important evaluations in the Academy's history. Anna received the call in the evening, just as she was reviewing ballistics tables for the following week's restricted practice sessions. Captain Torres's voice carried an unusual combination of formality and anticipation that immediately captured Anna's attention. "Miss Hansen, this is Captain Torres from the Academy. Colonel Harrison would like to meet with you tomorrow morning to discuss a training opportunity. Please bring your equipment and be prepared for potential range work." The invitation surprised Anna for several reasons. She hadn't been invited to Harrison's office since the uncomfortable meeting that had resulted in her restriction to basic ranges. More intriguingly, Torres had mentioned a training opportunity rather than another round of questioning about her background and capabilities. Anna spent the evening preparing equipment and reviewing the evaluation she had completed earlier. Her performance had clearly impressed the Academy staff, but she had learned not to assume that competent shooting would automatically translate into recognition or opportunity. The Academy's institutional culture seemed more comfortable with exclusion than inclusion when faced with unexpected excellence. The next morning brought unusually clear mountain weather. As Anna drove to the Academy, she arrived early and used the extra time to observe the facility's activity patterns. Several unmarked vehicles were parked near the administrative building, and she noticed an increased security presence around the advanced ranges. Something significant was clearly planned for the weekend. Colonel Harrison's office felt different during Anna's second visit. The atmosphere was professional rather than investigative, and Harrison's demeanor suggested opportunity rather than scrutiny. Captain Torres was also present, along with Master Sergeant Williams, creating a formal briefing environment rather than an interrogation setting. "Miss Hansen," Harrison began, "your evaluation and results this week were exceptional. Your shooting demonstrates skills that meet some very specific requirements we've recently encountered." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "We've been contacted by Naval Special Warfare, requesting civilian support for an advanced training evaluation. They need precision shooters who can provide genuine challenge without prior exposure to American military protocols." Anna listened carefully, recognizing that this conversation represented a fundamental shift in how the Academy viewed her capabilities. The same skills that had been treated as suspicious were now being presented as valuable assets. "The evaluation involves testing new counter-sniper protocols under realistic conditions," Torres continued. "They need shooters capable of engaging targets at extended ranges while adapting to unknown variables. Your background provides exactly the independence they're looking for." Anna felt a surge of excitement that she carefully controlled. This was the kind of challenging application she had been hoping to find when she first approached the Academy. More importantly, it represented validation that her years of disciplined preparation had developed capabilities that could serve purposes beyond personal satisfaction. "What would my role involve?" Anna asked. "You'd be participating in scenarios designed to test SEAL counter-sniper techniques," Williams explained. "They need opposition that can provide realistic challenge while maintaining safety protocols. Your shooting would help evaluate the effectiveness of their new approaches." Anna understood immediately that this opportunity represented far more than a chance to use her skills. Success in supporting Navy SEAL training would provide the kind of credibility that could transform her relationship with the Academy and open doors to advanced training she had been denied. More importantly, it would prove that her unconventional background was an asset rather than a limitation. However, Anna also recognized the risks involved. If she performed poorly or failed to meet SEAL standards, it would vindicate those who had questioned her abilities and potentially end her access to the Academy entirely. The evaluation would be conducted under conditions far more challenging than anything she had experienced, against professionals whose expertise was legendary. "When would this take place?" she asked. "Soon," Harrison replied. "The team arrives for equipment preparation and briefings. You'd need to be available for the full evaluation period, potentially extending through several days, depending on scenario requirements. Anna considered the implications carefully. Her university schedule could accommodate the absence, but more importantly, she felt ready for this level of challenge. Her father's training had emphasized preparation for unknown variables, and her own practice had focused on adaptability rather than repetitive precision under controlled conditions. "I'd be honored to participate," Anna said. Harrison nodded with visible relief. Anna realized that the Academy had been struggling to identify suitable candidates for this evaluation, and her acceptance solved a significant problem for their institutional reputation. "Ms. Hanson," Torres added, "I should mention that the team leader is Commander Jake Morrison. His reputation in precision shooting is exceptional, and his standards are extremely high. This won't be a casual demonstration." Anna smiled slightly. "Captain, I've been preparing for opportunities like this for 4 years. I understand the standards involved." As the briefing concluded, Anna felt the same calm focus that always preceded her most important shooting sessions. The Academy had finally recognized that her capabilities were an asset rather than a threat. Now she had the chance to prove that unconventional preparation could meet any challenge that conventional training could present. Walking back to her car, Anna reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. Months of dismissal and restriction had led to an opportunity that validated everything she had been working toward. The same independence that had made her seem suspicious would now serve a critical training function. She had a short time to prepare for the most important shooting evaluation of her life, knowing that success would change everything about how the Academy viewed both her abilities and her value to their mission. The evaluation morning arrived with crystalline mountain air and conditions that Commander Jake Morrison immediately recognized as perfect for a precision shooting evaluation. Anna arrived at the Academy early, using the extra time to familiarize herself with the extended ranges and equipment configurations that would define the day's challenges. Morrison's team had transformed the Academy overnight. Advanced spotting equipment, electronic target systems, and ballistic measurement devices created a technological environment that rivaled military training facilities. Anna watched the SEALs prepare their evaluation protocols with a methodical precision that had made them legendary among special operations units. Commander Morrison himself was exactly what Anna had expected: compact, intensely focused, and carrying the quiet confidence that came from years of life-or-death precision work. When he approached Anna's preparation area, his assessment was immediate and thorough, cataloging her equipment, posture, and demeanor with professional interest. "You must be Hanson," Morrison said, extending his hand. "Torres tells me you've been impressing people around here with some exceptional shooting." "I try to maintain consistent standards," Anna replied, recognizing that Morrison's casual tone masked a serious evaluation of her potential as a training partner. "We'll see about that," Morrison said with a slight smile. "Today's scenarios are designed to test adaptive precision under unknown conditions. We're not looking for target practice. We're evaluating combat-applicable skills under realistic pressure." The first scenario placed Anna at an observation position 800 yards from multiple target areas scattered across terrain that simulated urban environments. Morrison's team would attempt to neutralize simulated threats, while Anna provided opposition shooting designed to test their counter-sniper protocols. "Your job," Morrison explained, "is to engage targets that represent threats our team needs to identify and neutralize. We need shooting good enough to expose weaknesses in our approach, but safe enough to maintain training standards." Anna understood immediately that this was far more complex than a simple marksmanship evaluation. She needed to think tactically, adapting her shooting to provide realistic challenges while working within safety protocols that protected everyone involved. The scenario began with Morrison's team attempting to clear a simulated building complex while Anna engaged targets that represented covering positions for hostile forces. Her shooting needed to be accurate enough to eliminate threats before Morrison's team could neutralize them, creating realistic pressure for the SEAL protocols. Anna's first engagement came at a 650-yard target that required shooting through a narrow window opening. She made the shot cleanly, drawing immediate attention from Morrison's spotters, who were tracking all engagement results. Her second target, at 720 yards, required compensation for wind drift across uneven terrain. Another clean hit. As the scenario progressed, Anna found herself operating at levels of tactical complexity she had never experienced. Rather than simple precision shooting, she was thinking like a sniper, selecting targets based on strategic value and adapting her shooting to support scenario objectives. Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system. Opposition shooter is performing above scenario parameters, adjusting team protocols to accommodate enhanced threat level. Anna felt a surge of satisfaction at Morrison's recognition that her shooting was exceeding evaluation expectations. More importantly, she was providing exactly the kind of realistic challenge that would help validate or refine the SEAL training protocols. The second scenario moved to 1,000-yard engagements across terrain that included elevation changes and complex wind patterns. Anna found herself shooting at targets that appeared and disappeared within seconds, requiring rapid target acquisition and immediate precision that tested every skill she had developed. Her shooting was flawless, with target after target falling to precise shots that impressed even Morrison's experienced team. More importantly, her performance was forcing the SEALs to adapt their protocols in real time, proving that their training scenarios were providing genuine value. During a break between scenarios, Morrison approached Anna with an expression that combined respect and curiosity. Hansen, that he said, "Your shooting is exceptional. Where exactly did you develop these skills?" Anna provided her standard response about training with her father in Denmark, but Morrison's follow-up questions revealed that he understood precision shooting at levels far beyond casual interest. His questions were specific, technical, and designed to assess not just her abilities, but the depth of knowledge that has supported them. "Your father taught you well," Morrison concluded, "but this level of precision under tactical conditions suggests training that goes beyond recreational shooting." The third scenario was Morrison's ultimate test: unknown distance engagements at targets ranging from 600 to 1,200 yards, with Anna required to estimate ranges, calculate ballistic solutions, and deliver first-round hits under time pressure that simulated combat conditions. Anna's performance was perfect. Every estimate was accurate, every calculation correct, every shot precisely placed. Morrison's team found themselves facing opposition that matched or exceeded their own capabilities, providing exactly the kind of realistic challenge they needed to validate their training protocols. As the evaluation concluded, Morrison gathered his team for an immediate debrief while Anna cleaned her equipment. She could hear fragments of their discussion that suggested her shooting had not only met their requirements, but had exceeded expectations in ways that would influence their final training recommendations. Morrison approached her again as she prepared to leave, his expression thoughtful. "Hansen," she said, "that was some of the finest precision shooting I've witnessed outside active combat zones. Your performance today validated training protocols that could save lives in operational environments." Anna felt a deep satisfaction that went beyond personal achievement. Her shooting had served a purpose larger than individual recognition, contributing to training that would enhance the capabilities of America's most elite military units. The next evaluation would define Anna's relationship with both the Academy and her own understanding of her capabilities. Commander Morrison had designed a final scenario that pushed beyond standard training protocols into territory that tested not just shooting skills but decision-making under extreme pressure. "Today's challenge simulates conditions our teams face in hostile environments," Morrison explained during the pre-dawn briefing. "Unknown distances, time pressure, environmental factors, and target priorities that change in real time. This isn't about perfect shooting. It's about effective shooting when everything else is imperfect." The scenario placed Anna at a position 900 yards from a complex target array that included moving elements, unmanned elements, partially concealed positions, and targets that appeared for limited time windows. Morrison's team would attempt to complete objectives, while Anna provided opposition that simulated enemy sniper activity under combat conditions. Anna understood immediately that this scenario operated at levels of complexity that separated recreational shooting from life-or-death precision work. Success required not just accuracy, but tactical thinking, rapid decision-making, and the ability to maintain precision while processing multiple variables simultaneously. The evaluation began with Morrison's team advancing through terrain while Anna engaged targets designed to represent covering positions for hostile forces. Her first shot needed to neutralize a target at an estimated 820 yards, that was visible for only 8 seconds. She made the shot with 2 seconds remaining, drawing immediate recognition from Morrison's spotter. As the scenario progressed, Anna found herself operating in conditions that pushed her skills to their absolute limits. Targets appeared at ranges she needed to estimate instantly, requiring ballistic calculations performed under time pressure that left no margin for error. Wind conditions changed constantly, forcing continuous adjustments to her shooting solutions. The most challenging moment came when Morrison's team called for immediate suppression of a target at an unknown distance that was threatening their advance. Anna had 15 seconds to estimate the range, calculate a ballistic solution, and deliver a shot that would allow the SEAL team to continue their mission. Through her scope, the target appeared impossibly small and distant. Anna's training kicked in, range estimation based on target size and environmental reference points, ballistic calculation accounting for elevation and wind, natural respiratory pause, smooth trigger control, and immediate follow-up assessment. Her shot struck the target dead center at what post-scenario measurement revealed to be 1,147 yards. Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system with genuine admiration. Outstanding shot, Hansen. That's combat-level precision under operational pressure. The final challenge pushed beyond anything Anna had experienced in 4 years of disciplined practice. Morrison presented her with his personal Barrett .50 caliber rifle, a weapon she had never fired, but whose reputation was legendary among precision shooters worldwide. "This is the real test," Morrison said, his tone carrying weight that suggested this moment would define everything that followed. Unknown target at extreme range, one shot. Everything we've evaluated today comes down to this single engagement. Anna accepted the Barrett with hands that remained steady despite understanding the magnitude of what Morrison was asking. This wasn't just about demonstrating her shooting skills. It was about proving that her unconventional background had prepared her for challenges that tested the limits of human precision. The target was positioned at 1,200 yards across terrain that included elevation changes, wind patterns, and atmospheric conditions that magnified every technical variable. Through the Barrett's powerful scope, Anna could see the target, but engaging it successfully would require perfect execution of every skill she had developed. Morrison's team gathered at observation positions, understanding that they were witnessing something exceptional. Anna's performance throughout the evaluation had exceeded every standard they had established, but this final shot would determine whether her abilities truly matched the legendary precision they had observed. Anna settled into position behind the Barrett, feeling the weapon's substantial weight and unfamiliar balance. She had studied the rifle's ballistic characteristics, but had never fired it, meaning she needed to adapt her technique to equipment she understood theoretically but not practically. Environmental assessment revealed wind patterns that required complex compensation calculations. Elevation differences between her position and the target demanded precise ballistic adjustments. Atmospheric conditions added variables that could affect bullet trajectory in ways that separated successful shots from misses measured in inches. Anna performed her calculations methodically, drawing on 4 years of ballistic study and her father's teaching about precision under pressure. Range 1,200 yards, elevation 847 feet above target, wind 8 miles per hour from 2 o'clock, requiring 2.3 MOA compensation, atmospheric conditions stable. She chambered the massive .50 caliber round, settled into position, and found her natural point of aim. Through the scope, the target appeared impossibly distant, a small mark that represented the culmination of everything she had worked toward since beginning her precision shooting journey. Morrison's voice carried across the range. "Whenever you're ready, Hansen." Anna took her natural respiratory pause, found perfect sight alignment, and squeezed the trigger with the smooth control that had become automatic through thousands of hours of practice. The Barrett's report echoed across the Colorado mountains like thunder. The silence that followed Anna's shot stretched across the range like a held breath. Through his spotting scope, Commander Morrison tracked the bullet's flight path across 1,200 yards of Colorado mountain terrain, watching for the impact that would determine whether Anna Hansen was simply an exceptional recreational shooter or something far more significant. The target appeared to explode in a puff of debris as the .50 caliber round struck dead center, creating a hole that would have impressed Morrison even if he had made the shot himself. Around the observation area, Morrison's SEAL team exchanged glances that combined respect with genuine amazement. They had witnessed precision shooting that matched the best military snipers they had worked with during multiple combat deployments. "Perfect center hit," Morrison announced, his voice carrying across the range with unmistakable admiration. 1,200 yards, first round, unfamiliar weapon. That's exceptional shooting by any standard. Anna worked the Barrett's bolt action smoothly, ejecting the spent cartridge case while maintaining her shooting position. She had felt the shot break cleanly and known immediately that her calculations and execution were correct. But Morrison's confirmation provided validation that went beyond personal satisfaction. Captain Torres approached Anna's position with an expression that combined vindication and amazement. For weeks, she had been arguing that Anna's capabilities were being underestimated and underutilized. Today's performance had proven that assessment with authority that no one could question. "Anna," Torres said quietly, "that was extraordinary shooting. I've never seen precision like that from a civilian shooter." Anna began cleaning the Barrett methodically while responding, 4 years of preparation. "My father always said that when opportunity meets preparation, extraordinary things become possible." Master Sergeant Williams, who had been among Anna's most vocal skeptics, found himself reassessing everything he had believed about civilian shooting capabilities. Anna's performance throughout the evaluation had exceeded military standards. Morrison's debrief with his team revealed the full significance of Anna's contribution to their training evaluation. Her shooting had provided exactly the kind of realistic opposition they needed to validate their counter-sniper protocols. More importantly, her performance had exposed weaknesses in their approaches that would now be corrected before operational deployment. "Gentlemen," Morrison told his team, "today's evaluation validated techniques that could save lives in active combat zones. Hansen's shooting provided opposition that forced us to adapt our protocols in real time, exactly what we needed to verify our training effectiveness." The SEAL team's respect was evident in their interactions with Anna as equipment was cleaned and secured. These were professionals whose standards were absolute and whose approval was earned rather than given. Their acknowledgement of her abilities carried weight that extended far beyond the Academy's institutional recognition. Morrison approached Anna as she completed equipment maintenance, his expression suggesting their professional relationship was entering new territory. "Hansen," he said, "your shooting today was exceptional, but more importantly, your tactical understanding and adaptability under pressure suggest training that goes well beyond recreational shooting. Your father taught you more than just marksmanship." Anna nodded, understanding that Morrison recognized the depth of knowledge that supported her precision shooting abilities. "He taught me that true marksmanship requires perfect execution when conditions are imperfect." Today felt like validation of that philosophy. Morrison studied her thoughtfully, clearly processing implications that extended beyond the day's evaluation. "There are opportunities in military and civilian training environments for shooters with your capabilities. People with your combination of skills and tactical understanding are rare." The suggestion represented possibilities that Anna had never seriously considered. Her focus had always been on personal development rather than professional applications, but Morrison's recognition suggested that her abilities could serve purposes larger than individual satisfaction. Colonel Harrison joined the conversation, his presence indicating that Anna's performance had attracted attention at the highest levels of Academy leadership. Harrison's expression showed none of the suspicion that had characterized their previous interactions. "Miss Hansen," Harrison said, "today's performance has been extraordinary. Your contribution to this evaluation has exceeded every expectation we had when we authorized your participation." Anna felt a sense of completion that went beyond successful shooting. Months of dismissal, restriction, and institutional suspicion had led to this moment of complete vindication. Her unconventional background hadn't been a liability. It had been actually what was needed for a challenge that conventional approaches couldn't meet. Morrison's final assessment would be forwarded to Naval Special Warfare Command with recommendations that Anna's shooting had validated critical training protocols. Her precision had contributed to military readiness in ways that might ultimately save lives in combat operations. As the evaluation concluded and equipment was secured, Anna realized that everything about her relationship with the Academy was about to change. Today's performance had proven that her capabilities were assets rather than threats, and that recognition would create opportunities she had been denied for months. The hours following Anna's extraordinary performance created an institutional crisis at the Colorado Precision Shooting Academy that nobody had anticipated. Colonel Harrison found himself facing questions that challenged fundamental assumptions about civilian capabilities, academy protocols, and the decision-making processes that had led to Anna's months of restriction and exclusion. Admiral Patricia Chun's immediate response to Morrison's preliminary report was both congratulatory and pointed. Her secure communication to Harrison praised the Academy for supporting the evaluation while questioning how such exceptional civilian capabilities had remained unknown to Navy Special Warfare until now. Colonel, Admiral Chun's message stated, Commander Morrison reports that civilian shooter Hansen provided opposition that exceeded military sniper standards in multiple engagement scenarios. This suggests either exceptional individual capability or systematic underutilization of civilian resources. I'm interested in understanding how this level of talent was identified and developed. Harrison realized that explaining Anna's background would require acknowledging that the Academy had been treating their most capable civilian shooter as a security concern rather than recognizing her potential value to military training programs. The institutional embarrassment was significant, but the operational implications were more serious. Master Sergeant Williams faced similar scrutiny from Morrison's team, who wanted to understand how civilian shooters with Anna's capabilities could be identified and recruited for future training evaluations. Williams found himself explaining that Anna was unique while privately acknowledging that the Academy's evaluation processes might have missed other exceptional individuals. Captain Torres, who had consistently advocated for Anna's inclusion in advanced training opportunities, found her judgment vindicated, but her faith in institutional decision-making seriously shaken. The Academy had spent months treating Anna as a potential threat while missing opportunities to utilize her capabilities for exactly the kind of high-level training that defined their mission. The most immediate consequence was a complete review of Anna's status and access restrictions. Harrison ordered the immediate removal of all limitations on her range access and equipment use, while acknowledging that such restrictions should never have been implemented based on capabilities rather than security concerns. Ms. Hansen, Harrison said during an emergency meeting convened that afternoon, I want to personally apologize for the restrictions that were placed on your training access. Your performance today has demonstrated that those limitations were inappropriate and counterproductive. Anna accepted the apology with grace, while understanding that Harrison's words represented more than personal recognition. The Academy was acknowledging systematic failures in how they evaluated and utilized civilian capabilities. However, Anna also recognized that her vindication created new pressures and expectations that might be as challenging as the previous restrictions. Morrison's recommendations would likely generate interest from military training programs that could offer opportunities she had never imagined, but might also demand commitments that conflicted with her academic and personal goals. The immediate practical consequences were significant. Anna received authorization for unlimited access to all Academy ranges, including facilities that had been completely off-limits during her months of restriction. She was also invited to participate in advanced training programs that could enhance her capabilities while contributing to military and civilian marksmanship development. Morrison approached Anna privately as the day's activities concluded, his expression serious despite the successful evaluation. Hansen, he said, today's performance has attracted attention that extends well beyond this academy. There will be opportunities offered that could change your life significantly. I want to make sure you understand both the potential and the obligations that might come with those opportunities. Anna appreciated Morrison's candor while recognizing that his warning reflected genuine concern for her well-being rather than attempts to influence her decisions. Success at this level attracted attention that could be both beneficial and overwhelming. The Academy's response to Anna's performance also created ripple effects throughout the civilian shooting community. Word of her evaluation spread quickly among serious marksmen, generating interest in how such capabilities could be developed and what opportunities might exist for exceptional civilian shooters. Captain Torres privately admitted to Anna that her performance had forced a complete reassessment of Academy training protocols and civilian utilization policies. Anna, Torres said, what you accomplished today changes everything about how we think about civilian contributions to military training. Your shooting proved that institutional assumptions about capability and background can be completely wrong. As Anna prepared to leave the academy that evening, she understood that today's success had solved one set of challenges while creating entirely new ones. Her capabilities were finally recognized and valued, but that recognition came with expectations and opportunities that would require careful consideration. The woman who had been dismissed as a recreational shooter was now being discussed as a potential asset for programs that could influence military readiness and training effectiveness. The transformation was complete, but the implications were just beginning to unfold. Weeks after her performance with Commander Morrison's SEAL team, Anna stood in the Colorado Precision Shooting Academy's Advanced Instruction Center, wearing instructor credentials that represented a transformation nobody could have predicted. A formal recognition ceremony had taken place, with Admiral Patricia Chone personally presenting Anna with a civilian marksmanship commendation that acknowledged her contribution to naval special warfare training development. The citation specifically noted that her shooting had validated counter-sniper protocols now being implemented throughout special operations units. Miss Hansen's exceptional precision shooting and tactical adaptability provided opposition that enhanced military training effectiveness and contributed to operational readiness, Admiral Chun had stated during the presentation. Colonel Harrison's public acknowledgement of institutional failures had been equally significant, though more personally meaningful to Anna. During a facility-wide briefing, Harrison had formally apologized for restrictions that were based on suspicion rather than security requirements, acknowledging that Anna's capabilities had been consistently undervalued and underutilized. The Academy failed to recognize exceptional capability because it didn't fit our predetermined categories, Harrison admitted. Miss Hansen's performance proved that our evaluation processes needed fundamental revision to avoid missing future opportunities. Anna's new role as an advanced civilian instructor had been created specifically to utilize her unique combination of skills and independence from military training doctrine. She would work with elite units requiring opposition that couldn't be provided by personnel trained within American military systems. The position represented validation of everything Anna had worked toward, but it also provided opportunities to contribute to training that could enhance military effectiveness and potentially save lives in operational environments. Her shooting would serve purposes larger than personal achievement. Master Sergeant Williams, who had been among Anna's most vocal skeptics, approached her after the first advanced training session she had conducted for Air Force Special Operations personnel. "Hansen," he said, "I owe you an apology. Your performance today was exceptional, and your contribution to that team's training was invaluable. I was wrong about your capabilities and your value to our mission." Anna accepted the apology graciously while recognizing that Williams's acknowledgement represented broader institutional recognition that capability could come from unexpected sources and backgrounds. Captain Torres, who had consistently advocated for Anna's recognition, had been promoted to Training Development Director with specific responsibility for identifying and incorporating exceptional civilian capabilities into military training programs. "Anna," Torres explained during a planning meeting, "your success has changed how we think about civilian contributions to military training. We're developing programs specifically designed to identify and utilize exceptional capabilities, regardless of background or traditional credentials." The ripple effects of Anna's recognition extended throughout the precision shooting community. Her performance had inspired other civilian shooters to pursue advanced training and opportunities, while military programs began actively seeking civilian instructors who could provide independent assessment of their training effectiveness. Morrison, who had become a mentor and advocate, regularly consulted with Anna about training development and civilian utilization protocols. His recommendation had been instrumental in creating Anna's instructor position and ensuring that her unique capabilities were properly recognized and utilized. "Hansen," Morrison said during one of their regular consultation sessions, "your contribution to military training has been exceptional, but more importantly, you've proven that capability and dedication matter more than conventional credentials. That's a lesson that will influence training development for years." Anna's academic studies had been modified to include independent research on precision shooting psychology and training methodologies, allowing her to combine her practical expertise with theoretical knowledge that could enhance both civilian and military marksmanship development. The Danish military had also taken notice of Anna's achievements, with her father, Eric, receiving official recognition for training that had contributed to international military cooperation and training effectiveness. Anna's success had brought honor to Danish military training traditions while strengthening relationships between allied forces. Most importantly, Anna had found the perfect balance between personal development and service to larger purposes. Her shooting continued to improve through challenging applications that tested her skills while contributing to training that could enhance military readiness and effectiveness. During quiet moments at the academy, Anna often reflected on the journey that had brought her from a dismissed recreational shooter to a recognized expert whose capabilities were valued and utilized at the highest levels of military training. The Academy's transformation was equally significant. Anna's recognition had forced institutional changes that ensured exceptional civilian capabilities would be identified and incorporated, rather than dismissed due to unconventional backgrounds or suspicious excellence. Standing on the same range where she had once been restricted to basic targets, Anna now worked with the military's most elite units, providing training that validated critical operational protocols. Her precision shooting had evolved from a personal passion to a professional contribution that served purposes she had never imagined when she first began studying her father's ballistics charts. The morning sun climbed over the Colorado mountains as Anna prepared for another advanced training session. Her equipment was laid out with the same methodical precision that had characterized her approach from the beginning. The difference was that now, instead of being dismissed as too inexperienced, she was recognized as exactly the kind of exceptional capability that military training required. Anna smiled as she chambered her first round of the day, knowing that some of the most important shots aren't the ones that hit targets, but the ones that prove what's possible when preparation meets opportunity and dedication overcomes assumptions. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads from us.